Today, let us study why we should practice this Vipassanā Bhavana, insight meditation, or how to practice it. The practice of Vipassanā Bhavana or insight meditation is the effort made by the meditator to understand correctly the nature of the psychophysical phenomena taking place in one's own body. Physical phenomena are the things or objects which one clearly perceives around one. The whole of one's body that one clearly perceives constitutes a group of material qualities. In Pali we call rupa. Psychical or mental phenomena are acts of consciousness or awareness, Pali nama. These nama rupas are clearly perceived to be happening whenever they are seen, heard, smelt, tasted, touched, or thought of. We must make ourselves aware of them by observing them and noting thus, seeing, seeing, hearing, hearing, smelling, smelling, tasting, tasting, touching, touching, or thinking, thinking. Every time one sees, hears, smells, tastes, touches, or thinks, one should make a note of the fact. But in the beginning of one's practice, one cannot make a note of every one of these happenings. One should therefore begin with noting those happenings which are conspicuous and easily perceivable. In sitting meditation, with every act of breathing, the abdomen rises and falls, which movement is always evident. This is the material quality known as Vaya or Dhatu, the element of motion. One should begin by noting this movement, which may be done by the mind intently observing the abdomen. One will find the abdomen rising when one breathes in and falling when one breathes out. The rising should be noted mentally as rising and the falling as falling. If the movement is not evident by just noting it mentally, keep touching the abdomen with the palm of your hand. Do not alter the manner of your breathing. Neither slow it down nor make it faster. Do not breathe too vigorously either. You will tire if you change the manner of your breathing. Breathe steadily as usual and note the rising and falling of the abdomen as they arise. Note it mentally, not verbally. In Vipassanā Bhavana or insight meditation, what you name or say doesn't matter. What really matters is to know or perceive. While noting the rising of the abdomen, do so from the beginning to the end of the movement, just as if you are seeing it with your own eyes. Do the same with the falling movement. Note the rising movement in such a way that your awareness of it is concurrent with the movement itself. The movement and the mental awareness of it should coincide in the same way as a stone thrown hits at the target. Similarly with the falling movement. Your mind may wander elsewhere while you are noting the abdominal movement. This must also be noted by mentally saying, wandering, wandering. When this has been noted once or twice, the mind stops wandering. In which case you go back to the main object of noting the rising and falling of the abdomen. If the mind reaches somewhere, Note as reaching. Then go back to the rising and falling of the abdomen. If one imagine meeting somebody in the mind, note as meeting. Then back to the rising and falling. If you imagine meeting and talking to somebody, note as talking. In short, whatever thought or reflection occurs should be noted. If you imagine, note as imagining. If you think, thinking. If you plan, planning. If you perceive, perceiving. If you reflect, reflecting. If you feel happy, happy. If you feel bored, bored. If you feel glad, glad. If you feel disheartened, disheartened. Noting all those acts of consciousness is called Vipassana. Because we fail to note these acts of consciousness, we tend to identify them with a person or individual. We tend to think that it is I who is imagining, thinking, planning, knowing, or perceiving. We think that there is a person who from childhood onwards has been living and thinking. Actually, no such person exists. There are instead only these continuing and successive acts of consciousness. That is why we have to know these acts of consciousness and know them for what they are. That is why we have to note each and every act of consciousness as it arises. When so noted, it tends to disappear. We then go back to noting the rising, falling of the abdomen. When one has sat meditating for some time, sensations of stiffness and heat may arise in your body. These are to be noted carefully too. Similarly with sensations of pain and tiredness. All of these sensations are, in Pali we call dukkha vedana, feeling of unsatisfactoriness. And noting of them is Vipassana. Failure or omission to note these sensations makes one think, I am stiff, I am feeling hot, I am in pain. I was alright a moment ago. Now I am uneasy with these unpleasant sensations. The identification of these sensations with the ego is mistaken. There is really no I involved, only a succession of one new unpleasant sensation after another. These sensations should be carefully and intently noted, whether they are sensations of stiffness, of heat, or of pain. In the beginning of the yogi's meditational practice, these sensations may tend to increase and lead to a desire to change one's posture. This desire should be noted, after which the yogi should go back to noting the sensations of stiffness, heat, etc. Patience leads to Nibbana, as the saying goes. This saying is most relevant in meditational effort. One must be patient in meditation. It is patience mostly with unpleasant sensations in the body, like stiffness, sensations of heat and pain, and other sensations that are hard to bear. One should not immediately give up one's meditation on the appearance of such sensations and change one's meditational posture. One should go on patiently, just noting as stiffness, or hot. Moderate sensations of these kinds will disappear if one goes on noting them patiently. When concentration is good and strong, even intense sensations tend to disappear. One then reverts to noting the rising and falling of the abdomen. One will of course have to change one's posture if the sensations do not disappear, even after one has noted them for a long time. And if on the other hand they become unbearable, one should then begin noting as wishing to change. If there is no change necessary, then only static rest. Go back to noting the rising and falling of the abdomen. There must be no intermission in between, only contiguity between a preceding act of noting and a succeeding one, between a preceding samadhi, that is a state of concentration, and a succeeding one. The noting and Vipassanā bhavana or insight meditation should be continual and unremitting, without any resting endeavor between acts of noting whatever phenomena may arise. For instance, if a sensation of itchiness intervenes and the yogi desires to scratch because it is hard to bear, both the sensation and the desire to get rid of it should be noted without immediately getting rid of the sensation by scratching. If one goes on perseveringly noting thus, the itchiness generally disappears, in which case one reverts to noting the rising and falling of the abdomen. If the itchiness does not in fact disappear, one has of course to eliminate it by scratching. But first, the desire to do so should be noted, or the movements involved in the process of eliminating these sensations should be noted, especially the touching, pulling, and pushing and scratching movements, with an eventual reversion to noting the rising and falling of the abdomen. Every time one makes a change of posture, one should begin with noting one's intention or desire to make the change, and go on to noting every movement closely. One has to make one's changes of posture gradually and gently. Only then will mindfulness, concentration, and insight be good. Similarly, when one hears or sees while meditating, yogi's concern is only to note what one sees or hears, as one note as he's seen, or hearing, merely just noting carefully. When rising from the sitting posture, one should do so gradually, noting as rising. When straightening up and standing, note as standing, or standing and touching. When one begins walking meditation, first note the intention to walk and then walk. And then walking, one can note the steps. First, one face noting whether right step or left step. Then when one becomes well seasoned with that practice, then one can make two noting as raising of the foot and putting down. Then raising of the foot, moving forward and putting down. This is the manner of noting when one do walking meditation. For lying down meditation, when the desire to lie down arises, note it in the movements of the body as one slowly prepares to lie down. All these movements should be noted. To note as one lies down thus is important. In the course of this movement, that is in lying down, one can gain a distinctive knowledge. That is mega jnana and phala jnana, the knowledge of the path and its fruition. When samadhi or concentration in jnana or insight are strong, the distinctive knowledge can come at any moment. It can come in a single bend of the arm or in a single stretch of the arm. Thus it was that the Venerable Ananda became an arhat. The Venerable Ananda was trying strenuously to attain arhatship overnight on the eve of this, the first Buddhist council. He was practicing the whole night the form of Vipassanā Bhavana insight meditation known as Kayagata Sati, noting his steps right and left, raising and putting down, or raising, pushing forward and putting down, noting happening by happening, the mental desire to walk and the physical movement involved in the walking. Although this went on till it was nearly dawn, he had not yet succeeded in attaining arhatship. Realizing that he had practiced the walking meditation to excess, and that in order to balance samadhi or concentration and virya or effort, he should practice meditation in the lying posture for a while. So he entered his chamber, he sat on the couch, and then lay himself down with mindfulness. While doing so and noting as lying down, he attained arhatship in an instant. Venerable Ananda was only a Sotapanna, that is the extreme winner of one who has attained the first stage on the path to Nibbana, before he thus lay himself down. From Sotapannahood he continued to meditate and reached Sagadagamihood, that is the condition of the one Ratana, or one who has attained the second stage on the path. Then Anagamihood, that is the state of the non-Ratana, or one who has attained the third stage on the path. And Arhatship, that is the condition of the noble one who has attained the last stage on the path. Reaching these three successive stages of the higher path took only a little while. Just think of this example of the Venerable Ananda's attainment of arhatship. Such attainment can come at any moment and need not take long. When it is time for sleep, one should meditate in the lying position before falling asleep, noting either the rising, falling of the abdomen, or lying, touching of the body on the bed. Touching is the whole body touching the bed, so one can choose any point like head touching the pillow or the buttock touching the bed, and note lying, touching, or note rising, falling of the abdomen. Then one will naturally and automatically fall asleep. When the yogi awakens, one should at once resume noting. The yogi who is really bent on attaining Magga and Phala Jnana, path and fruition knowledge, should rest from meditational effort only when one is asleep. At other times, in one's waking moments, one should be noting continually and without rest. That is why, as soon as one awakens, one should note the awakening state of one's mind as awakening. One should also note all other daily activities, like when one's washing one's face, or brushing of the teeth, or taking of a bath. As the movements involved in these acts are rather quick, one may not follow them with labeling. Just keep presence of mind in the present action. There are then acts of dressing, tidying up the bed, or opening and closing of the door. All these should also be noted as closely as possible.
一位禅师者
So also at mealtime, one should make an effort to note all the actions involved. As I just now suggested, though one cannot follow with detailed labeling, At least one should keep presence of mind at the present moment, rather than letting the mind wander off. I have mentioned so many things for the yogi to know, but to summarize, there are only a few things. When walking fast, note as right step, left step, and as raising of the foot or dropping of the foot. When walking slowly, one can note three phases: raising of the foot, moving forward of the foot, and putting down of the foot. When sitting quietly, just note the rising and falling of the abdomen. Note the same when you are lying. While noting thus, and if the mind wanders, note the acts of consciousness that arise, then back to the rising and falling of the abdomen. Note also the sensations of stiffness, pain, and ache, and itchiness as they arise, then back to the rising and falling of the abdomen. Note also as they arise the bending and stretching and moving of the limbs, bending and raising of the head, swaying and straightening of the body, then back to the rising and falling of the abdomen. As a yogi goes on noting thus, one will be able to note more and more of these happenings. At the beginning, as one's mind wanders here and there, the yogi may miss noting many things, but one should not be disheartened. Every beginner in meditation encounters the same difficulty, but as one becomes more practiced, one becomes aware of every act of mind wandering, till eventually the mind does not wander anymore. The mind is then riveted on the object of its attention. The act of mindfulness becoming almost simultaneous with the object of its attention, such as the rising and falling of the abdomen. In other words, the rising of the abdomen becomes concurrent with the act of noting it, and similarly with the falling of the abdomen. The physical object of attention and the mental act of noting are occurring as a pair. There is in this occurrence no person or individual involved, only this physical object of attention and the mental act of noting occurring as a pair. The yogi will in time actually and personally experience these occurrences. While noting the rising and falling of the abdomen, one will come to distinguish the rising of the abdomen as physical phenomena and the mental act of noting of it as psychical phenomena. Similarly with the falling of the abdomen. Thus, the yogi will distinctly come to realize the simultaneous occurrence and pair of these psychophysical phenomena. Thus, with every act of noting, yogi will come to know for oneself clearly that there are only this material quality which is the object of awareness or attention, and the mental quality that makes a note of it. This discriminating knowledge between mind and matter is called Nama-Rupa Pariccheda Jnana, the discriminating knowledge between mind and matter, the beginning of the Vipassanā Jnana or insight knowledge. It is important to gain this knowledge correctly. This will be succeeded as the yogi goes on by the knowledge that distinguishes between the cause and its effect, which is called Paccaya Pariggaha Jnana. As the yogi goes on noting, one will see for oneself that what arises passes away after a short while. Ordinary people assume that Both the material and mental phenomena go on lasting throughout life. That is from youth to adulthood. In fact, that is not so. There is no phenomena that lasts forever. All phenomena arise and pass away so rapidly that they do not last even for the twinkling of an eye. The yogi will come to know this for oneself as one goes on noting. One will then become convinced of the impermanency of all such phenomena. Such conviction is called anicca Vipassanā jnana. This knowledge will be succeeded by dukkha Vipassanā jnana, which realizes that all this impermanency is unsatisfactory. The yogi is also likely to encounter all kinds of hardships in one's body, which is just an aggregate of sufferings. This is also dukkha Vipassanā jnana. The yogi will become convinced that all these psychophysical phenomena are occurring of their own accord, following nobody's will and subject to nobody's control. They constitute no individual or ego entity. This realization is anatta Vipassanā jnana. As one goes on meditating, when the yogi comes to realize firmly that all these phenomena are anicca or impermanent, dukkha or unsatisfactory, and anatta or egoless, one will attain nibbana. All the former Buddhas, Arahats, and Ariyas realize nibbana following this very path. All meditating yogis should recognize that they themselves are now on this satipatthana path, and fulfillment of their wish for attainment of mega jnana, knowledge of the path, phala jnana, knowledge of the fruition of the path, and nibbana dhamma, and following the ripening of their parami, that is perfection of virtue. The yogis should feel glad at this and at the prospect of experiencing the noble kind of samadhi, that is tranquility of mind brought about by concentration, and jnana, the supramundane knowledge of wisdom, experienced by the Buddhas, Arahats and Ariyas, and which they themselves have never experienced before. It will not be long before they will experience for themselves the mega jnana, phala jnana, path knowledge and fruition knowledge, and nibbana dhamma, experienced by the Buddhas, Arahats and Ariyas. As a matter of fact, these may be experienced in the space of a month or of 20 or 15 days of one's meditational practice. Those whose parami is exceptional may experience these dhammas even within 7 days. The yogi should therefore rest content in the faith that one will attain these dhammas in the time specified just now, that one will be free of sakaya deity, ego belief, and vicikiccha, the skeptical doubt, and safe from the danger of rebirth and the 4 lower realms of woeful states. One should go on with this meditational practice in this faith. To conclude the talk for today, I wish may you all be able to practice meditation well and quickly attain that nibbana which the Buddhas, Arahats and Ariyas have experienced.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Idame punya.
Idame punya.
Nibbanasa.
Vipassanā
Paccaya Hotu Idame Punya Yatinang Hotu Sukhita Hontu Nyatayo Imano Punya Bhaga Sabha Satana Dima